Hi guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to make this starburst bracelet, and we're going to be making it completely on the hook. I'm going to be actually making this exact ring with you. I'm going to make only 3 stars just to give you an example of how to make it. It's really easy. You'll need 7 bands for each star and whatever color bands you want to use for your border colors. So let's get started. First we're going to grab our border color, which is white, and we're going to take that single band and loop it once on a hook, like that. And we're going to create the center of our star, taking our first color and pulling the 2 loops off of a hook and onto that single band, and getting the other loop onto your finger. I'm using my ring finger, so that's what yours should look like. Pull it up a little bit. Taking another single band, this will be the center of our star, and we'll loop it once on a hook to create the cat band, and pulling the other loop off of our finger and onto our hook. So that's what yours should look like, and you should have 4 loops on your hook. Taking your last color for our first star and pulling all 4 loops off of our hook and onto the single band. So you should have 2 loops on your hook. So this finishes the center of our first star. Let's do our second star. Taking a single band, once again getting the 2 loops off of a hook and onto that single band, and attaching the second loop onto our finger. Taking another single band, the center of our star, and we're going to loop it onto our hook and getting the loop off of our finger and onto our hook. So you should end up with 4 loops. Taking another band to finish the center of our second star and pulling all loops off of our hook and onto that single band. So that finishes the center of our second star, and you're going to continue the same pattern till you get to your desired length. So I'm going to show you one more with my third color, same thing. Taking a single band of my third color, pulling the 2 loops off of my hook and onto that single band, and getting the other side onto my finger. Taking another single band, looping it once on my hook to create a cat band, and then grabbing the loop off of my finger and onto my hook, creating the center of our starburst. Taking another single band and pulling all 4 loops off of my hook and onto that single band. So this is what the center of your star should look like, and you should continue till you get your desired length. And once you're ready to finish, we're going to take a single band. That's the color of our border. Mine is white, and I'm pulling the loops off of my hook and onto that single band and getting it onto my hook. And we'll take a C-clip, and we're going to get the loops off of the hook and onto the C-clip. So that's what your bracelet should look like, but much, much longer. And now we're going to make the sides for a star. On the cap band end side of our bracelet, we're going to get the 2 loops onto a hook, grabbing our border color, which is white, and pulling the loops off of a hook and onto that single band, and getting the other side onto our finger, like that. Taking our first band, the color of our first star, and we're going to put a hook through the center, getting 4 loops onto our hook. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. pulling the 4 loops onto that single blue band and getting it onto our hook. So that's what yours should look like. And then getting the loop off of our finger and onto our hook. So we have 4 loops on a hook. Taking our next single border color and pulling all 4 loops off of the hook and onto that single band, and once again attaching one side of the loop onto our finger. So that's what yours should look like. Our second loop for our star, using the same band, once again going to that same hole in the center of our first star, getting the 4 loops onto our hook, grabbing that single band, pulling the loops off of our hook and onto that single band, and then getting the other side of the white loop off of our finger and onto our hook. So that's what yours should look like, and we're only adding 2 loops on the side for each star for both sides. So that first star is done. We have 2 loops. Let's go to our next color. We always want to use our border color first, so mine is white. Taking that single band, once again getting all 4 loops off of a hook and onto that single white band, and we always attach the other side of the white band onto our finger. Now go to the center of our next star, putting a hook through, getting 4 loops on a hook, grabbing our next color and pulling all 4 loops off of our hook and onto that single band, and getting the 2 loops onto a hook, and then pulling the other white band off of our finger and onto our hook. So you should have 4 loops on your hook before you grab your next border color, pulling all 4 loops off of a hook and onto that single white band. Once again, getting it on your finger. So one side's on the hook and one side's on the finger. Getting our second band for our second star, putting our hook through the loops, getting the 4 bands onto a hook and pulling that 4 band off of a hook again, getting it onto that single band and grabbing the loop off of our finger and getting it onto a hook. The same pattern, I'm going to do one more for my last star. Grabbing my border color, getting the 4 loops off of my hook. You should have 2 whites, or 2 border color and 2 star color, and getting that other side onto our finger. Taking my next color, putting into the center of my next star, and getting 4 loops onto a hook, grabbing that single band, pulling all the 4 loops off of our hook and onto that single band, and getting the loop off of our finger and onto our hook. So you should have 4 loops. Taking our border color and pulling all 4 loops off of a hook and onto that single white band, and putting one side on our finger. Taking our next band for our starburst, once again putting a hook through and pulling the single band through, getting the other side onto our hook and then grabbing the loop off of our finger and onto the hook. Should end up with 4 loops. That was my last star. Now I'm going to take a single band, pulling. Now I'm going to take a single band and getting all 4 loops off of my hook and onto that single white band, like that. And once you're at the end of one side, we're going to grab our C-clip here, and we're going to pull the loop closest to a hook off of our C-clip. So that's what yours should look like, and pulling the 2 white loops off of a hook and onto that single band that's attached to the C-clip. And then we're going to put it back onto our C-clip. So that's what your starburst should look like. We have one side. Now let's do the other one. I'm right-handed, so I'm flipping it to the right. Once again, we're going to start where the cap band end is, putting a hook through, getting the 2 loops onto a hook, grabbing our border color and getting the 2 loops off of a hook and onto that single band. One side's on a finger, one side's on a hook, and repeating the same pattern, taking the single band for our first star and getting the 4 loops onto a hook, grabbing our single band and pulling the 4 loops off of a hook and onto that single band, grabbing the other side of our loop off of our finger and onto our hook. So you should have 2 white loops and 2 blue loops on the center. At least that's how mine is. Now taking your next border color and pulling all 4 loops off of the hook and onto the single band and putting the other side onto our finger. I'm just going to repeat the same pattern. Once again, we're adding only 2 loops per star. So I'm just adding my last single band for my second loop for my star. Once again, pulling the single band off of my finger and getting the loops onto my hook. Getting my last single white band or the border color, getting all 4 loops off of the hook and onto that single band. So this is my last border color. And once again, grabbing our C-clip and pulling the loop closest to our hook off of that C-clip. So that's what yours should look like. And we're going to pull these 2 loops off of the hook and onto that single band. And now reattaching that loop back onto the C-clip. So that's what your starburst bracelet should look like, and yours should be much, much longer to fit whatever you want. I hope you like it. Thanks for watching.